Hello everyone, Tim Brown. Welcome to my Apple Podcast. This past week, Adobe released Adobe Photoshop Touch for the iPhone. And if you haven't used the application for the iPad, you should know that it is arguably one of the best applications that are available as far as photo editing is concerned. So it's nice that it came out with an iPhone version. What I want to do is check it out and compare how it works with the iPad version. I'm going to go ahead and open both applications. I have the iPhone version on the right and the iPad version on the left. Let's give them a few seconds to launch. Give my screen a few seconds to catch up. Okay. So you see the layout is actually quite similar. You would expect some differences with the iPhone version because it's narrow and a lot smaller. So the menu options are more condensed. On the bottom you have two options for starting a new project or importing photos on the iPad version, as you see here. On the iPhone version, you just have the one option here where you can go to your photo library or start a blank document. Along the top, you see on the iPad version, you have access to Creative Cloud. You can save, share, or copy objects. You can start new folders, and you can delete items without having to access a hidden menu. Whereas on the iPhone version, everything is condensed under this menu option, and here's where you find delete, move, create folder, and so forth. So it's just a little bit more condensed, but you pretty much get the same features. So let's go ahead and start a project. I actually have two photos that I saved in the library of the iPad and iPhone. So I'm going to import those same photos into each project. So in the iPad version, when starting a new project with an existing photo, you hit the photo icon, go to your camera roll, and I'm going to choose this Pantheon image here. And likewise, I'm going to do the same for the iPhone version. I'm going to go to my photo library, camera roll, and bring in the Pantheon image. Okay, now this is what the two applications look like when they're side by side. So you still have the menu bar on the left for the iPad version. I'll give you a view of the full toolbar there. Now with the iPhone, you don't have the toolbar showing up yet, but if you tap on the bottom left corner, the toolbar appears. Now you see that the toolbar is shorter than the one on the iPad version. So the designers decide to hide some of the tools within the main layer. So here you have brushes, but when you tap on brushes, you now have the option to paint on effect, airbrush, as well as erase. Whereas on the iPad version, the eraser has its own place on the toolbar. So that's one of the minor differences that you see. Let's see what else. The lasso tool is also missing on the iPhone version. So it's probably hidden somewhere else. It's now in the selection tool. So in the iPad version, you have the selection tool and the wand tool and the lasso tool, listed separately, whereas here you have to go to another menu to access the lasso tool. So all the tools are there, they're just hidden on the iPhone version. Alright, let's go ahead and add some effects to this photo. As you can see, the layout is still pretty much the same. Up top, you see the pencil tool, and you see the selection tool. On the iPhone version, they combined them both. So here's the pencil tool. This is where you can copy and cut, clear and paste. And here's where you can select pixels, invert, and so forth. The iPhone version, you have more options because they combined the selections. So again, it's just taking advantage of the smaller screen real estate and yet still giving you all the features that come with the iPad version. Okay, I'm going to go to FX, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the glass effect on both applications. And I'm going to go ahead and use the slider on the iPad to make adjustments to the amount of the glass effect that I want. to appear in the photo. Okay, that looks good. Now let's try it with the iPhone version. I have amount selected, so I'm pretty much able to do the same things, just the tools are just designed slightly differently for obvious reasons because it's the iPhone. They both have the check mark at the bottom to complete the filter, and it looks great. Now let's look at the layers icon. That's on the bottom right corner. Again, very similar, except on the iPhone it's more condensed. More condensed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus symbol on the iPad version. As you can see, I'm prompted to import a photo layer or empty layer. On the iPhone version, you have to select the layers and then select the plus symbol. So it's an extra step because it's hidden due to the smaller format. But same option, so let's go ahead on both and import a photo. I'm going to add a portrait from the library and then add that to both devices. Okay, now what's interesting is this is the same PNG that I used to import into the iPad and iPhone. What do you notice right away? The iPhone version is not bringing my PNG with the transparency. Instead, it's a black background. So that's a little disappointing because now I have to do a little bit of extra work. But let's see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and check, bring the two photos into the project. Since I have some work to do on the iPhone version, let's start there first. Now, typically, when you have to delete a background, you use the following tools. So I'm going to go up. First, I'm going to start with the toolbar on the bottom left, and I'm going to use the selection tool or the wand tool. And I'm just going to go ahead and just tap on the background to select it. Okay, that seems to be selecting areas that I want to erase. So now I'm going to go up to the selection tool, edit tool on the top left, and I'm going to first hit invert because I don't want to erase the face. I just want to erase the background. And now I'm going to go ahead and select extract. And that should get rid of my background. Great. Now what's nice about this particular tool too, this is how you go in and deselect. Let's see if I can find it here. Deselect, deselect. Okay, my eyes are getting bad. Oh, here we go. All right. So now the two applications are identical. What I need to do, however, is I still have this border along the edges of the photo. So on both applications, with the eraser tool selected, I'm going to adjust the size of the brush. So you remember on the iPhone version, you have to choose the brush tool and then move over to select the brush tool. And you see the menu options are different on the iPad. It pops up as a separate menu alongside the toolbar, whereas on the iPhone version, it's just provided right along the bottom. Okay, so I think I'm pretty set on both. Let me start with the iPad. I'm just going to go ahead and erase these edges from my photo. These areas that I forgot to clean up before importing them into my project. So I'm just going to clean up these areas just a bit. Likewise on the iPhone version, do the same thing. You'll notice too that sometimes when using the Adobe Photoshop Touch, occasionally it'll take a while to process things. So you get this little cube, generating cubes that appear on screen that let you know that your actions are being processed. Sometimes you don't even get this, but there are times when it appears, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I have other applications open, or maybe it's just how Adobe Photoshop works. Okay, so we're all cleaned up. Everything looks similar, but I want to go in and improve or enhance the portrait in both applications. And again, you should be able to do the same thing. Now, the menus are pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and choose the adjust tool this time. And let's see, what's a great way to enhance this image? I'm going to go ahead and choose shadows and highlights on both applications. And you see they both bring up the toolbar, but laid out a little differently. When you're on the iPad version, you see I have lights, shadows, but then I can also flip to additional options, highlights and darks, just by flipping up and down with my finger. Likewise, on the iPhone version, you don't flip up. Instead, it's just you get 4 menu options along the bottom, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and select highlights on the iPhone version, because that's what I'm going to work with on my iPad. I'm just going to go ahead and just bring out some highlights like that. So the face is a little bit brighter. Likewise, on the iPhone version, I'm going to go ahead and slide this over a little bit to bring out the brightness in her face a bit. Cool. That's great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check the check sign for both to complete the action. Wow, so that's pretty amazing. It seems that they're both quite similar. You can also add text if you want to on both applications. You can add lens flare, gradient, there's a fill tool, crop tool. So they pretty much have all the same options here. Again, it just varies on the iPhone version because there's limited screen real estate. For example, in the iPad version, in the center at the top is a transform tool where when selected you can go in and resize your image like that. In the iPhone version, there's no room for it on the toolbar, so it's now provided under the and symbol as an additional option. But all the tools are essentially there, which is really nice. I want to go ahead and try the lens flare tool just to kind of close things out and see how it looks on both applications. So here I just selected the lens flare tool, and I'm going to decrease the intensity, I think, because I don't want it to be that bright. But I kind of like how it looks on this photo, so I'm going to just make slight adjustments with the iPad version, and likewise I'm going to adjust the intensity on the iPhone version. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Again, the only difference is with the iPad version, you have the menu bar that are structured with scroll bars, whereas on the iPhone version, you get automatic menu options along the bottom. So it actually makes it easier. So if you're using your thumbs while holding your phone, you can easily access the controls that you need. So it's well designed for both formats, and I'm very impressed. So let's go ahead and hit the check symbol. And we're going to go ahead and save both projects to the library. You hit the arrow on the top left for the iPad version and click save. And it looks like here on the iPhone version, you just click done and click save. And there are the boxes again, letting you know that everything's being processed and sent to your library. For those of you who haven't seen this before, and then to clean up your project, you just, well, let's go to the iPad version first. Hit the return key, hit save the camera roll, and then you select the photo that you want to save, and then click OK. On the iPhone version, you have to select the menu bar up top. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The return key along the bottom. And then click save the camera roll, select the photo you want to save. You also have an option too, I didn't show you an iPad version, to select JPEG or PNG. And then click OK. And you're done. So it's pretty impressive how Adobe has managed to redesign this application so it actually works just as well on the iPhone. The only issue I seem to have was that it did not bring my PNG in with the transparency. I actually had to go in and delete it. I'm sure Adobe is going to fix this in a upcoming update. But even with that, it's quite impressive and well worth the money. I believe it's $5.99 right now in the App Store. Don't quote me on that because I can't remember the exact price. I think that's what I paid. But it looks pretty good. Both applications work seamlessly, and I must say that Adobe has done it again. Anyway, this is Tim Brown, my Apple Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'll check you out next time.